John here. It's Monday again, so that means it's time for some alternate picking stuff. In today's lesson, I'm gonna share a practice technique that will massively improve your right hand accuracy when it comes to string crossings. The technique is called planting, and I first learned about this studying classical guitar, but it's equally effective on electric. I'm also gonna share my daily warm-up / practice routine, and that's mainly where I apply this technique. We're also gonna cover a lick, of course, but the main thing is this planting technique, and if you've ever had problems with string crossings, this lesson is for you. If you want tabs for this one, you can sign up for my YouTube lessons over at Teachable. You have the link below. Then you get access to all the lessons previous and all the upcoming lessons as well. I'm also offering guitar coaching via Teachable, so if you're interested in that, you can check that out. Link below as well. And yeah, that's about it. So let's get going with the lick. Alright, so here's the slow version. We start on the 9th fret of the low E string. So this one is based on the C sharp harmonic minor scale. The only difference between a harmonic minor scale and a normal minor scale is that you have the natural 7th in the harmonic minor scale. So if you have a minor scale, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, then you raise that to the natural 7th. So most of this lick is based on this 12-note sequence. We start here on 10th fret of the D string. We go up 10, 11, 13. And then we got 9, 11, 13 on the G string. Shift it up to 14 on the G string and go back 14, 13, 11, and then the same thing on the next string. So all together. We're gonna repeat that up here as well. So if you know that, then you know probably 70% of the lick at least. So we're just gonna add this group of 6 first from the beginning. So we got 9, 11, 12 on the E and A string. Then we go into that sequence we just looked at. Then we'll repeat the first part of the sequence. And then we'll repeat it again, 1 octave higher, starting here on the 13th fret of the B string. And then we'll do that sequence once more. And again, when we repeat it, we're gonna change it a bit. And the reason why I add this passing note is, besides sounding cool, it also helps me stay in the rhythm of the lick, basically. I wanted this to be 6s all the way through, so 6 notes per beat. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. And that gets us into that sweep arpeggio to end the whole thing. So, because if you didn't have that, you would end up with, and that's fine, but in this case I really want it to be very clear rhythmically. So from the beginning, and from here we're gonna do some sweeping. So we have this 3-string shape. And the way that I picked this is up, actually down, since we're coming from a downstroke. But so you have the downstroke, pull off, up, and then down. And this downstroke is very important because you want this to be a rest stroke. And I'm gonna get into sweep picking here on the channel soon, promise. But for now, just make sure that you get this down. So down, pull off, up, down. And this downstroke should be a rest stroke, so you actually land on top of the B string here. Because this is actually the only swept part of the lick. These 3 notes. And it's very important that they always do that with a rest strokes when you practice it slowly. So. And why I said upstroke here initially is because when you repeat this, which we're not going to do in this particular lick, but if you repeat this over and over again, you would actually get, when you loop it, this will be an upstroke, because you're going to come from down, 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 up. So. All right, so if we put that together with the previous section. Okay, and now we're going to shift up to the 21st fret. That's quite a big shift, and you're probably going to get some sort of sliding sound. I try to minimize that, but I don't really mind it, though it sounds good anyway, so. And I'm just going down a 5-string arpeggio here. So it's going to be an upstroke on the 21st fret, then you go down in this sort of kind of minor bar chord version of the C sharp minor chord. Just adding this note here and this note here, but 1 octave up. So picking wise, that would be up, pull off, up, 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 down. Now you want to make sure that all your upstrokes are rest strokes as well. So falling to the next string the whole time. Once more slow from the beginning. So today's practice tool is planting, and planting is something you can use for sweep picking, alternate picking, and hybrid picking, and also finger picking, normal finger picking. That's basically where this technique comes from, or that's where I learned the technique, at least from classical guitar. The purpose behind this is to make sure that you make the actual motion as efficient as possible. And the cool thing about this technique is that regardless if you pick with, you know, your wrist, your fingers, or you use your whole arm, it's going to make your technique more efficient. So you don't need to change anything. You just apply this thing and it will actually help you to be more efficient, which is very important in the long run if you want to play faster, and also you want to be more consistent in your playing overall. I actually mentioned this technique in the hybrid picking video I made a couple of weeks ago. So just go back, it's the first hybrid picking Friday one, and it's in the section where I go through the hybrid picking basics. In that exercise, I show you this thing. So that's basically planting. I'm preparing the pick here, and as soon as I play that one, I prepare the finger on the G string here, and then as soon as I play the G string, I prepare the D string again with a downstroke, which results in this open string exercise sounding like this, instead of all the overlap, right? So you can apply the same thing with the pick now, and it's actually a good thing to do at first because you can focus purely on the right hand, and the amount of overlap you get will be indicative of how efficient you are with the transition time as well. So the less overlap, the better off you are. So the slower you are in going to the next string, so I'm starting here on the D string now, I'm gonna go down on the D string, up on the G string, so that means that I'm gonna plant first with a downstroke, so I'm gonna be above the D string. And then as soon as I play that, I want to go as quickly as I can to the G string. And now, of course, it's on the D string ringing, but the second I play the G string, and I'm actually above the G string now, or below it, however you look at it, but I'm under it here. And as soon as I play that, I want to go back to the D string again. And now the G string is ringing, and now I play the G string, and then I'm back. So you're always going to get some overlap, but you don't want to hear this. Right? So try to minimize it, and also really try to relax when you do this, because for some reason I've seen this in my students, and I've seen it in myself when I started doing it, that you kind of tense up, but you don't want to do that. You want to go the complete opposite direction. Just be as relaxed as possible. Just feel that sort of security of resting on the string. So that's when you apply it to just open strings. So hopefully you get what the technique is all about now. I tend to use this more on string crossing exercises though, because I think that's where you get the most out of it. Because on a single string, we're usually efficient enough, but it's still worth trying. And if you do that, just try to get the note as short as possible, while still retaining a good tone on the actual note that you hear though. You don't want to sacrifice the actual tone you're getting. Okay, so I'm not doing anything like that. I'm really trying to get a good sound, even though it's brief. So for myself, the routine that I use pretty much daily, and where I mostly use this practice technique, is for this string crossing routine. And I do this in two ways. I do it with just adjacent string, but I also do it with a string skip. So, and the exercise I'm talking about here is this one. I'm just gonna play it through slowly once, and then I'm gonna explain what I'm doing. All right, so basically that's the whole exercise, but then you do that on all string groups. So next would be the A and D string. And so on. And what I'm doing here is going from each finger pair. We have 6 of them. We can go 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4. And then we apply them to going in between the strings. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4. Then I'm going to turn that around and go 1, 2, but I'm starting on the higher string in each pair now. So it's going to be 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4. Okay? Then I do that all the way up until I reach do the whole thing. And then I'm gonna do it again in the next, I move up and do another position usually. And now I'm gonna do exactly the same exercise, but I'm gonna start on an upstroke. And I know this is kind of like a ball ache for a lot of people, but it's really worth it when it comes to alternate picking exercises, because you don't want to fall behind with any one pick stroke. And the upstrokes are usually a big problem for most people compared to the downstrokes. So if you can work more on that, that will actually help everything in your picking technique. So it's very important, I believe. Anyway, so you do the same thing, but now you get inside picking on the first one here, and then you get outside picking on this one instead of the other way around when you start with a downstroke. And it feels slightly different. So I do that, but then I do everything again, but now I'm gonna put a string between. So I'm gonna do the same exercise, but I'm gonna go between the E and D string. And then A and G, and so on. And same thing here, I'm gonna go do all of it again, starting with an upstroke. So that's the entire routine, but it doesn't take very long, you know, maybe 10, 12 minutes or something. And the most important thing to focus on here is a very relaxed right hand, and that you get these quick transitions and actually plant on the string before you play it. So that's the whole idea here. And if you do that, within a few days, you'll probably notice that your right hand is way more efficient and it's just easier to play most things. And it's a really secure feeling when you apply this. Really hope you give it a shot. And if you didn't notice here, I played each fingering twice, but you can do it more times if you want. I wouldn't really go for less because it becomes kind of, you know, it's a bit, you want the reps, right? So you don't really want to go. So I do twice, so let's go, right? And if you want to be more systematic about where you do this on the fretboard, you can do what I do. I divide the guitar into zones. So I have zone 1 here, 1 through 4, zone 2, 5 through 8, 9 through 12, 13 through 16, and then 17 through 20. Generally don't do the highest one. You can do that if you want, but I'm pretty happy just going up to the 17 through 20. The idea here being that you get to experience all the different tensions without playing it on every fret, because that would take way too long. So if you do that, you can basically do start on a downstroke on this one on day 1. Then you do so if you want to apply this with this particular exercise, you can do the adjacent string one here, starting with a downstroke. And then you do the same thing here, starting with an upstroke. And then you do the this string skipping version starting from the 9th fret with a downstroke. Then you do the same thing again, starting with an upstroke here. And then day 2, you start on 17 and do the adjacent string version with a downstroke, adjacent string version with an upstroke, starting on the first one again. And then you do the string skipping, starting on a downstroke, starting from the 5th, string skipping with an upstroke, starting from the 9th, and so on. So you sort of cycle through it, and then you cover everything without having to sit there for hours to do, you know, every fret and starting on upstroke and all that stuff. And of course, apply this to any type of thing you're working on that you have trouble with, especially if it contains a lot of difficult string crossings. I think it will make a big difference for you. But even if you don't apply it directly to a lick, just going through this routine will help your overall technique. That's why I'm such a big fan of using these routines. They sound like crap, but they really help. And you also go through all the different finger combinations, so no finger's gonna fall behind. And same thing with the right hand, you go through a lot of different combos, and that's very helpful when it comes to learning pretty much anything afterwards. All right, so that's it for this time. I can talk about a lot of different practice techniques here, but if you don't actually try them, and try them for real, meaning do it at least for a couple of weeks, you won't really get anything out of this. I really wish I had access to this stuff when I started out, and the reason why I share all this stuff is to help you guys so you don't make the same mistakes as I did, so you can actually get ahead faster. Really try this first, and if you have any questions, post them below and I'll try to help you out as soon as possible. And also if you have any other issues with alternate picking or pretty much any technique really, just post them below as well so I know what to focus on for upcoming videos. Alright, so thanks for watching and see you in the next video.